Greetings and welcome back to the Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel, where we're going to be talking some more about propagating our fruit trees. Now, we've already done air layering and grafting videos. I'll have links to all of that stuff in the playlist here in the end screen at the conclusion of this video. But today we're not going to talk about the grafting itself, but getting rootstock. You need rootstock in order to have something onto which you graft. Okay? So, one of the characteristics of a lot of apple trees is that they like to throw suckers up from the roots. And while it's really quite difficult to propagate most of your fruit trees from branch cuttings, it's very simple to propagate them from root cuttings. And these suckers are basically root cuttings that have already started to establish and grow as semi-independent trees. So we're going to separate and pot up some of these and have them for future years. Now you see this big clump of large suckers. Right behind it is another smaller clump, and then there's more right at the base of the tree. So you can see in this that there's a root coming out in this direction. Okay. Now, I don't want to take these off here right at the base of the tree. There's too much there's too much danger of directly damaging the crown right in that area. These are a little small. I'll probably let them have another year. This is the clump that I want to harvest. So I know about where my root is. What I want to do is come in with the shovel, find the root, and then skim those off the top. Okay? So I'm going to start exploring here a little bit. Rock right there. I just heard some of them pop. There we go. Okay. So there is our clump of suckers. Now, grab a pot here and some good old soil. Carefully pull at these, and if you look at what we've got here, can you see how these are joined here at the base? Okay. And then this is connected to the larger root system. So what we have is a cutting which has already rooted itself. These have some feeder roots, and we can just pull them apart. I'm not going to separate these two. I'm going to let that grow as one cutting. This is a larger one, so I'm going to give him his whole pot. Now when I plant this guy, I'm going to put it all the way down at the bottom of the pot. Okay? And then fill up from there. I want to bury as much of this stem as possible, because there's a very good chance that I will get some other side roots coming off. Okay? If I plant it shallow, all it will have is that little cluster of feeder roots there at the bottom. But if I plant it deep, I have a very good chance of encouraging even more roots to come out the side of this. Okay? So I have roots, I have top. That's a very small root ball for this length of top, so I will end up snipping this guy probably about here. Okay? But it has just started to go dormant, so it's not going to be a huge metabolic issue right now. So that can be a later project. It's not in... Did I whack you in the face with that?
A little bit.
A little bit,
That's okay.
Sorry. Not trying to. It's not an urgent issue. Okay. Here we have a little cluster. There's a couple. And even though I don't see any suckers coming up from this piece of root, I'm going to plant this anyway. So here's this one. We got him all the way at the bottom of this pot. And then you want to make sure that you plant them right side up when you're doing this. I'll put a couple little ones in this pot. Okay. So now this pot has this one that's already growing, this one that's already growing, and right here, one that's submerged under the ground. Okay. When you're doing this, you're not going to have 100% success rate, but you will have a very high percent success rate. Okay. Apple trees really do like to be propagated from root cuttings. It's a very good way to work with this species, and it's very, very simple. Okay. You go and you buy rootstocks. You're usually in for about $3 or so a rootstock if you're buying it at homeowner scale. Obviously, if you're a large wholesaler and doing wholesale propagation, you can get them cheaper than that, right? But assuming that these all grow, right, this is already $12 worth of rootstocks in that pot for just a few minutes and a shovel. Now, you do want to be careful when you're doing this that you don't overly injure large roots. But you can see I'm not going super deep. I'm just going deep enough to get my cuttings up, okay? And this is not hurting the mother tree at all. Also, a lot of these rootstocks, they'll kind of grow down until they hit hard pan or something, and then they'll start throwing suckers. And once that root starts throwing suckers up, it will continue doing so pretty much forever. So we're going to have an abundance of these going forward in the future, right? I'm taking all of these that I can see, other than these right at the base this year. But next year, it will produce another poof of suckers, and in 2 or 3 years, I'll be able to harvest those. These that I'm potting this year, I'm not going to graft on these this year. I'm going to give them a full year to reestablish a nice healthy root system and build some stored energy in that root system. So I'm doing this in October 2024. They will have all of 2025 to grow in these pots. And then in March 2026, these will get grafted. Okay? So this does require a bit of thinking ahead, but we're talking about trees. Everything about trees requires thinking ahead, planning ahead, and taking the long view, okay? But once you have some of these trees on your farm, it can become a self-perpetuating resource, okay? So I hope this gives you some ideas and helps you think through some of your own plant propagation ideas. I ran out of words. and I hope that you will join us here next time at Old Ways Rising Farm.